The anime starts by showing us a war that's quite different from what we're used to. In this war, humans face an enemy very different from themselves, Titans. These Titans, whose origins and reasons for attacking humans remain a mystery from the very first episode, kill humans in perhaps the most terrifying way possible, by eating them. In response, humans built walls to protect themselves, but as different Titans began to emerge, the walls gradually lost their effectiveness. At this point, we meet our main character, Eren, along with his friends Mikasa and Armin. These friends join the military, aiming both to kill Titans and protect the walls, as well as to uncover the mystery behind the Titans. In this complex anime, the first issue we need to address is the problem of suffering. The phrase, "the world is a cruel place," is repeated by several characters throughout the anime, and it's clear that this sentiment is a fundamental part of the show's narrative. The Attack on Titan universe is filled with suffering. Nearly every character has experienced significant trauma in their past. Eren witnesses his mother being eaten by a Titan. Mikasa's family is murdered right in front of her when she is still a child. Armin, Levi, Erwin, every character has endured serious pain as a child and continues to suffer. This anime is heavily focused on the problem of suffering. Even nature itself is portrayed as ruthless and cruel. The idea that the strong crush the weak is a theme that's explored throughout the story. For Eren and those around him, the Titans are the primary source of the world's suffering. Thus, early on, Eren dedicates his life to eradicating all the Titans from the world. Now, let's shift our focus a bit to those who control the Titans. What kind of philosophy drives the mind behind the Titans? Here, we need to talk about Zeke. He is Marley's war chief, who leads the attacks on Eldia's walls. But he himself belongs to the Eldian race. There's something strange about this situation. Why would someone try to kill their own people? If none of us had been born, we wouldn't have to suffer this much. This quote from Zeke sums up his philosophy, which seems to align with antinatalism. According to antinatalism, bringing a child into the world is morally wrong because the world is filled with suffering, and to bring a child into the world is to condemn that child to a life of pain. Thus, refusing to bring a child into the world is seen as an act of kindness, sparing the child from future suffering. Returning to Zeke, we see that his goal is to wipe out the Eldian race from the face of the earth. In his view, the existence of this race brings pain and torment, not only to the people of Marley, but also, most importantly, to the Eldians themselves. Zeke's reasoning has some validity. The Eldians, who have the potential to transform into Titans, have caused serious harm to the Marleyan race in the past, but this race has also inflicted the most damage upon themselves. Even when there were no enemies left to fight, they would start civil wars and kill each other. Therefore, Zeke argues that the only way to eliminate this problem of suffering is to remove its source, the Eldian race. He provides his own answer to the question, why would someone try to kill their own people? Zeke believes that by doing this, he's actually helping his race in a twisted way. However, there's a subtle difference between Zeke's philosophy and antinatalism. Antinatalism, by definition, is opposed to birth. Therefore, this philosophy is focused only on preventing childbirth. On the other hand, Zeke not only wants to prevent Eldian children from being born into this world, but also tries to kill the Eldians who are already alive. Taking this into account, we could say that Zeke is forcing his race into a kind of euthanasia. Yes, the word that encapsulates this is genocide. Attack on Titan, especially in its final seasons, evolves into a full-blown genocide story. If we look at it through the lens of world history, there are significant parallels between the events in this story and the Holocaust. Just as Nazi Germany sought to exterminate the Jewish race, there is a genocidal intent against the Eldians in the anime. Like the Nazis viewed Jews as a race that needed to be eradicated, the Marleyans also consider the Eldians within their borders as people with devil's blood, and treat them with extreme contempt. But the Nazi metaphor doesn't stop there. Just as the surviving Jews after the Holocaust were forced to wear yellow badges, identifying them for different treatment, the Eldians living within the Marleyan walls are made to wear a similar badge, and these two badges closely resemble each other. Additionally, there are references to World War II, and the airships used during the war are frequently seen in the final season of the anime. Even the lyrics of the anime's intro song sound like a military march. However, what we need to focus on here is the anime's unconventional portrayal of genocide. In a typical genocide, we see a struggle between two different races, but in Attack on Titan, we witness an attempt at genocide by the same race against itself. The Marleyans want to exterminate the Eldians and even force the Eldians under their control to fight in this war. Even though we can understand Zeke's philosophy, The other Eldians are very different from Zeke, and therefore their reasons for committing genocide against their own race must be approached from a different perspective. This is where a famous concept from Plato's The Republic sheds light on the situation. The allegory of the cave. Imagine people chained in a dark cave, unable to turn their heads and forced to look only straight ahead. These people, from birth, see only the shadows of objects cast by the light from the entrance of the cave, and they believe these shadows are the true reality. One day, one of these people escapes their chains and steps outside the cave. They see that the shadows they've seen their whole life are just illusions, and that the outside world holds a different reality. When this person returns to the cave and tries to explain this to the others, they don't believe them and insist on the reality they know, the shadows. If we turn back to Attack on Titan, the Eldians living within Marley's walls have been told from birth that their race is cruel and have been made to hate their own kind. As a result, they've been conditioned to commit genocide against their own people. The strange thing is that the other side, the Eldians living on Paradise Island, were unaware of the Marleyan race for a long time and believed that they were the last of humanity. They only later learned that the Eldians were also human and that they belonged to this race. In short, this anime, like Plato's allegory of the cave, brings together sides that are unaware of each other's realities. In such a situation, learning that both sides perceive different realities is likely to cause psychological issues for the characters who realize this. For example, Reiner is a good example of this. We could say that Reiner experiences a complete split personality. Born as an Eldian within Marley's borders and raised to hate his own race, Reiner is sent as an agent to his race's land, Paradise Island. He spends so much time with his own people there that he sometimes forgets that he's an agent. Being caught between these two realities and exposed to both sides' ideas for so long reveals how manipulable our perception of reality can be. This brings to mind Nazi Germany's use of the big lie technique. If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. This quote is attributed to Nazi Germany's Minister of Propaganda, Joseph Goebbels. Returning to the anime, throughout the series, some characters stubbornly refuse to break free from the ideas that have been instilled in them and are unwilling to see the truth. We can attribute this to the big lie technique because these characters have been exposed to a particular ideology for so long. Seeing the truth has become very difficult for them. Eren's words capture this situation well. Most people are pushed by something and forced to walk toward hell. This something wasn't their choice. Their circumstances or others made them do it. And of course, while we're talking about Eren, we must take a closer look at this character. So, what is freedom? In its simplest form, we can define freedom as the ability to think and act as one desires. Eren, from the very beginning, struggles with the concept of freedom. Even as a child, he feels anger that his life is confined within the walls and dedicates himself to achieving freedom. But as this character, who is seen as humanity's hope, becomes more ruthless and distances himself from those he loves in the later seasons, we, the viewers, are forced to reevaluate his character. The anime actually hinted at Eren's dark potential in earlier episodes. For one, he has always had a strong inclination towards violence. His childhood is marked by fights, and at the age of 9, he kills 2 men without hesitation to save Mikasa, showing his reckless nature. Although killing these 2 men saves both Mikasa and himself, this kind of behavior is not what you'd expect from a 9-year-old. Another example of Eren's dark side can be seen through Armin. One day, Armin brings Eren a book that describes the world's beauty, and their reactions to this book are completely opposite. Armin dreams of seeing the outside world with childlike wonder, while Eren, filled with the anger of living within the walls for so long, wants to take the freedom he believes is rightfully his. Armin's motivation is curiosity, while Eren's is ambition. In fact, we could say that Eren has been driven by his ambition his whole life. Eren cannot live without an enemy. He's always in a fight, even though he claims his dream is peace and freedom. If he were to achieve this dream, and there were no enemies left to fight, he would probably start fighting with himself. Although I've made some conclusions about Eren's character, we still struggle to understand why Eren, who always used his dark side against his enemies, is now showing it to the people he loves the most, Armin, and especially Mikasa. In the end, we understand why Eren behaves this way. Eren has the ability to see future scenarios and their outcomes, and because of this, he sees a way to eliminate the Titans by having Mikasa kill him. If Mikasa kills him, it will send a message to Ymir, who created the Titans, and she will finally let go of her eternal love for King Fritz and stop creating Titans. As we learn this truth in the manga, we understand why Eren wanted to make his 2 closest friends hate him. Eren believes he's doing them a favor. By sacrificing himself, he stops the creation of Titans and leaves behind a world free of their cruelty for Armin and Mikasa. Of course, this means sacrificing many things along the way: his relationships with them, his life, his humanity. He's sacrificing his freedom. In the end, even if it means submitting to a predetermined scenario, he accepts his fate. We also see the irony of this story. The character who fights so hard for freedom, and perhaps deserves it the most, is, in the end, forced to give up that freedom. But can we say Eren achieved his goal? In one sense, he didn't solve the problem of suffering in the world. Even if the Titans are gone, as long as humans exist, wars will continue. But Eren's goal wasn't to create a world without suffering. That was Zeke's goal. From the very first episode, Eren's goal was to eradicate the Titans and bring freedom to his people. And in this, he succeeded. The only place he failed was in achieving his own freedom. But in the end, by sacrificing his life, he gains a form of freedom. As the story concludes, Mikasa bids farewell to Eren with a bird, a symbol of freedom, wrapping the scarf that Eren gave her years ago. I can't say Eren is a good person, but I can't say he's a bad person either. Eren is a gray character. His good and bad sides seem to blend together. Because of his contradictory nature, it's hard to see him as a hero, but it's also hard to see him as a villain. But we can certainly see him as human. It's fair to say that Eren embodies the essence of this anime because, like Eren, Attack on Titan exists in a gray area. It leaves us questioning who's good and who's bad, who's right and who's wrong. It challenges what we think is true and leaves the final judgment up to us. If there's one truth the anime insists on showing, it's that conflicting ideologies and characters who hate each other are, in essence, two sides of the same coin. Eren and Reiner, Marley and Eldia, and of course, freedom and slavery. These concepts may seem opposed, but in reality, they're similar and need each other to exist. The series creator, Hajime Isayama, has said that his goal with this manga was to hurt the readers. And it's fair to say, he succeeded. Throughout the anime, beloved characters die, trusted ones betray, and the harsh ending leaves a profound impact on the audience. Remember that quote from Mikasa during a battle scene: "The world is cruel, but it's also very beautiful." If I were to describe this anime, I would use the same words: cruel, but still very beautiful.